Good morning, Democrats. Good morning. I hope you all have found your seats, and if you haven't, please do so and get some breakfast, get some coffee. Welcome to our final day of this lovely weekend. We're reaching our time, the end of our time here together for Sun River this year, but we still have a really great day of speakers and panels ahead. And I think you have all heard plenty of times by now how amazing my fellow officers and our DPO staff are, but can we hear it for them one more time? So we're going to be getting a legislative update from Speaker Fahey and Leader Jama soon, in addition to awarding a very special rural organizing award. But before we do, I'm going to invite up Vice Chair Eileen Kayse and DNC member Diane Grover to help us quickly recognize the folks who made this event possible for a final time.
Diane's going first because I had too much fun last night.
And I didn't have enough fun last night. We are so glad to have you all here with us this weekend, and I hope you all have had a very fun time. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors who have made this event possible. The premier are U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, IBEW Local 48. The platinum sponsors are Western States Regional Council of Carpenters, NGP VAN, OFN HP, SEIU Local 49, UFCW Local 555, New Sun Energy, King Estate Winery, which I hope you all have enjoyed, Morale Inc. Sorry.
Thank you. And of course, I forgot to bring my glasses up. Okay, so for more sponsors, please see page 5 of your program. But we'd also like to give a big thank you to our volunteers who are donating their time this weekend. You can recognize them by their purple name tags. Dana, where are you at? Stand up, girl. She's been here every day. Additionally, you may see press here this weekend with noticeable bright pink named badges. And lastly, a special thank you to the DPO staff who are ensuring this weekend runs smoothly. You can recognize them by their yellow flags on their badges if you ever need any assistance, but don't ask Candy because Candy hurt her foot, and so, okay, Candy's cool, but don't pick on her this morning. So, thank you very much, and we're starting the program.
Well, good morning, everyone. I know I'm waking up too. But I did hope that everyone slept well last night. It is my honor to welcome the next speaker to the stage, someone who's very special to me. Well, he's my boss, but it's not that kind of special. He's also a friend. He is also a friend, a colleague, a respected community leader, a mentor that I look up to every day, and someone who gave me my first job in politics. Appointed in 2020 and elected to serve a 4-year term representing Outer East Portland in 2022. This is one of the most diverse districts in the state. Senate Majority Leader Kayse Jama is the first former refugee, Black, Muslim, and Somali American to ever serve in the Oregon State Senate. Senator Jama has settled in Portland, Oregon since 1998, and then in 2003, he co-founded the Center for Intercultural Organizing, or now it's called Unite Oregon, a statewide nonprofit dedicated to uplifting all Oregonians by bridging urban and rural Oregon. With more than 2 decades of organizing and advocating for those voices who are often left behind the table, Senator Jama's resume is long, but I will make sure you get to hear from him. So welcome, Senator Jama.
Good morning, Democrats. No, we can do better than that. Good morning. There we go. It's Sunday morning, so we need to wake up. I hope you have some coffee already. Again, welcome. My name is Senator Kayse Jama. You see him pronounced. You know, when we started last session, 2025 long session, we didn't know what about to come. We had some ideas that this is going to be a tough, challenging session, but we faced down challenge to defend our state against federal threats and at the same time move Oregon forward. That was our goal. And that framing, we came up 3 strategies or 3 goals in our 2025 Senate caucus agenda. The agenda that we set up have 3 goals. Number 1, affordability. Number 2, safety, and number 3, defending fundamental rights of Oregon's people. Those are 3 goals that we had. And I believe we made progress on those 3 goals. Our work has extra urgency this last session and now. Against the backdrop of the federal administration who is attacking our community, our democracy, and who we are as a country. Violating individual rights, refusing to defend our workers, and to dropping consumer protections. Those 3 areas that I mentioned, we make a progress each one of them. Our record shows that we put people's concerns first and made real progress for them. For example, we require utility companies to slow down their rate hikes. That's one of the goals that we achieved. And we also leveled the playing field for workers negotiating with management during the strike beginning 2026. People on strike can qualify for unemployment benefits. That was a big heavy lifting, but we did it because of Democrats. We found we found ways to safeguard against threats from the Trump administration and extremism. Protected the rights to read, saying the decisions on book reading materials should be in the hands of the library and must be under the control of the local educators and parents. That was a bill, that Senate Bill 1098, that Senator Lou Frederick sponsored. My friends, I know what's like dealing with authoritarian. I grew up in Somalia, where we had a dictator and authoritarian government. I know how they operate, and I know how they work. In terms of the protecting rights of the Oregonians, we need to make sure that we recognize when we see the signs of authoritarianism, and that's where we are right now as a country. One of the things that they do is to make sure people has no hope and has no way of dealing with the challenges they're facing. In my country, when I was in Somalia, as a youth organizer, we faced straight on the authoritarian leader and make sure that we deal with peacefully. Unfortunately, that ended up not the right strategy, and we end up having a civil war in my country. That's not where we were heading, hopefully in the United States, but the signs of the dictatorship is there. We need to make sure that we protect Oregonians from it. Looking forward in 2026, we have difficult decisions to make around our budget and our continuing defending Oregonians' rights and against infringement by the federal government. You all will talk about this weekend about HR 1. You know what it is, and you know what's coming. We are here together as Democrats to ensure we protect Oregonians, to ensure that we minimize the impact that HR has in our community. But the challenges remain there, and there is important work ahead, including the coming 2026 election. All of the policies are possible because of you as Democrats. We as Democrats work together, although we are a big tent, we work together to defend, ensuring that we have the right strategy for Oregonians. As Trump administration is threatening to take health care and abortion access away from more than 200,000 Oregonians, we must continue to stand strong together to defend Oregon's values. Oregon State Republicans want to cloud down by the progress we have made and adopting extreme Trump policies right here in our community. They have been silent on stripping health care away from our kids and our seniors. They have been silent on the federal government is sending troops to our state and our city of Portland. They have been silent when most vulnerable communities are at risk. Colleagues, my friends, my Democrat friends, last cycle we won supermajority in the Senate when we elected Senator Chris Gorsuch and his county and flipped Senate District 27 from red to blue for the last 30 years by electing Senator Anthony Broadman right here, Central Oregon. Electing strong Democrats majority in the Senate and House and electing Governor Kotek is imperative to our ability to continue to fight back. And we have tough road ahead of us. But we know that change starts local level and starts with each and every one of us working hard to make sure that we have victories. We need to support Democrats who are running for an office. Change starts when we elect Senator Deb Patterson, who is fighting to protect Medicaid access and as the chair of the Health Care Committee. It starts when we re-elect Senator Mark Meek, who will fight for economic development across our state. Change starts here when we fight Senator Golden to keep Southern Oregon blue. Colleagues, my Senate fellow Democrats, when we deny mega Republican Representative Tracy Kramer for her bid for the Senate in Woodburn and elect pro-democracy, pro-union Democratic who will fight for the working families. That's our goal, to make sure that we add to that seat into our column. Team Senate Democrats are ready to hitting on the ground, running, prepare upcoming cycle with hope and with determination, and I hope that you join this effort. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me building pluralistic democratic state that welcomes everyone regardless of their background? Are you with me building multiracial, multi-ethnic movement for justice? for all. Are you with me? In November, when we come in November, we will win. Make sure that we add it to our supermajority in the Senate. We make sure that we elect Governor Kotek, and we make sure that we elect House members in our legislators. I know that you are with me, because in November, we will do the job that needs to be done. We'll fight hard. We will protect Oregonians. We will ensure that Oregon is a safe place for all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Senator Jama. Now, every 2 years at the summit, the DPO honors someone with the Award for Excellence in Rural Organizing. When it was time to decide who to give the Rural Organizing Award to this year, it was actually pretty easy for me, and it was for the rest of our officers as well. We quickly and secretly decided to award it to one of our colleagues, Vice Chair Kim Schmith, and her late husband, Steve Evers. If you know Kim and Steve, it is very easy to understand why. What makes rural organizing so special is that it is community-based. It's all about building relationships and making connections with your neighbors. And for Democrats in rural areas, it's hard to talk about politics with your neighbors. It's hard to be a Democrat. Oregon is a proud blue state, but so many of our rural communities are red. But Kim and Steve's approach to this work is based on just loving their neighbors and loving their community, and they made just the best team. Steve would donate his talents as an eye doctor, traveling to prisons all around Oregon because he knew the value in everyone's life. And if we're talking about rural, that doesn't just mean Oregon. Steve took his talents internationally, taking several charitable trips to remote villages all over Africa, and provided health care to people, and especially children, who never would have had the opportunity to get the care they needed otherwise. And while Steve would be off doing that, Kim was back in Madras, leading the Key Club at the local school, where she helps teach leadership skills to kids, especially Hispanic and Native American kids in the community, and helping them make connections and learn about how they can make a difference. And she always bakes them amazing brownies for dessert. Kim is also in charge of Operation Rudolph, where she secures thousands of dollars in grants and puts in so much of her own time and money to get holiday gifts for kids in her community whose families would not otherwise be able to afford presents. I could go on and on about how Kim and Steve individually fight for rural, but together they made an unstoppable team. The lives of so many young people in Oregon, especially from underrepresented communities, were so deeply touched by Kim and Steve. Even this weekend, a whole group of volunteers from Madras High School came here, including our incredible lunch discussion moderator yesterday, a group that we now lovingly call Kim's Kids. Yes, Kim and Steve worked like nobody else on all the traditional ways that we elect Democrats to, but building that community and living and exemplifying our democratic values is such a critical part of this work. Now, when I'm not wearing my DPO hat, I serve as Chief of Staff for Senator Lou Frederick. Senator Frederick is a dear friend of Kim and Steve's, and he'd like to share a few words too.
Thank you, Nathan. Well, I'm not that tall. Unfortunately, Steve is no longer with us. We had a memorial service for him, and I pointed out that I was incredibly jealous of all the people in the room. Because if you ever met Steve, you know that he was an extraordinary and exceptional man. Somebody you wanted to get to know, and I only got a chance to know him a little bit. Kim and Steve let me stay overnight at their place when I went over to meet the Kim's kids. And it was an extraordinary experience. I've been lucky. I get a chance to be on a couple of tours of the state, and the tour for the Ways and Means Committee and the Transportation Committee and the Education Committees and sometimes other things. So I got a chance to get over to Madras and see the 40 Key Club members in Madras who are they are just outstanding. And I just want to let you know that that was great. But Kim brings them together, and they get to really get a sense that they can make a difference in their future and not have to wait until they get out of high school or wait until they get out of college, but can do it right now. Kim puts that forward with them, and it's a joy. It's a joy to see us creating a bench and a group of students and a group of people who are ready to take on the world, because that's what they're going to be doing. So frankly, it's an honor for me to be able to be up here to talk about Kim and Steve and to talk about the work that they do, but it's also an example of what we can do throughout the state. If we are only looking at the adults that are voting age, we're waiting too late. We need to be talking with them and getting the sense, getting all sorts of ages understanding that they actually have a place in this world and that they can contribute things. And I'll leave with one thing that I do. I no longer ask kids what they want to be when they grow up. I ask them what problems they want to solve. When you do that, it puts a different kind of thing in their minds on what they can do, and that they are going to be part of the future, that it's not just what's happening right now. Kim does that with each one of those kids, and they are, when you walk into a room and it's a whole group of Native American kids, because they've put together their own special classroom for lunchtime, or the African American kid, not the well, there are a few African American kids in Madras, just a few. But the Latino kids there as well. And you see how many are ready to just go. That's what we're going to need. That's what we're going to need in order to make a difference here. So, Kim, thank you so much.
Now, while Kim heads up here, I do have one more little story about her that I want to share. So Kim is always fighting for rural Oregonians, and she does so in many ways. But there's one issue that has always been Kim's pet peeve, kind of her great white whale, I think, one that she always brings up when she talks about folks running for rural office in Oregon. In Oregon, we know how sacred our voters' pamphlets are. Well, in a third of Oregon's counties, the deadline to file your voters' pamphlet statement is earlier than the deadline to file for the state and the other 24 counties. All 12 of these counties with a different date are rural counties. And as a result, candidates for office in these counties would regularly miss the filing deadline. By no fault of their own, they were simply following the date that was being widely publicized and printed in the state handbook. The candidates who were most affected, of course, were first-time candidates and folks from underrepresented communities. Well, after telling everyone she could about this and growing awareness of the problem, it was time to do something more. So, in the last legislative session, Senator Frederick introduced a bill for Kim, Senate Bill 578. It literally has her name on it right at the top, that would change state law and require the filing date for the voters' pamphlet in every county be the same as the state filing date. It was it was definitely not the hottest bill of the session, but we got it passed, and Kim gets the credit for her advocacy to our legislators and getting it done. So just as a symbol of all of the work she has done for rural Oregon, we requested a parchment copy personally signed by Speaker Fahey and President Wagner and Secretary Reed and Governor Kotek. So, Kim, this is just a symbol of all that you've done for us. It's truly an honor to award this to you. You are a treasure to our party and our state. Thank you so much for everything you do. Everybody, please join me in thanking Kim Schmith and Steve Evers.
I'm just going to stand up here since I'm the same height as the podium. This is so unexpected and so lovely, and you know how it is when you fight for something, and even when you're heard, it doesn't go anywhere, right? And it didn't go anywhere, and it didn't go anywhere. And I saw, like, not only did it happen to me, which is how I became aware of it. It had been in existence probably since forever, right? But it's like, then the next candidate that it happened to in my county was the first Native American to ever file to run for a county office. And she missed the voters pamphlet deadline because of this. And that just broke my heart. You know, we also lost a sheriff that had been put in that was reasonable. He was a mainstream guy versus a far-right guy. Same thing. He wasn't told about it because the far-right didn't want him to know, right? So the establishment didn't share that information with him, and he's not our sheriff, and it's causing us more problems right now with ICE and with Trump. And so I did complain to everybody all the time. Those of you know that when I'm hot, I'm hot. And thank you. Nathan heard me, Senator Frederick heard me, and then they did something about it. And then Nathan would let me know every time it was up and when they needed me to come and speak. And the beautiful thing about it is because when we do collaborative work, which in rural, we have no choice but to work collaboratively with our neighbors who are almost always Republican. But when we work collaboratively in rural, we can actually get a few things done. So it was literally State Senator Bonham, who used to be my representative before redistricting, who actually said, wait, that happened to Kim and to Lori, who was the other Democrat. He's like, well, they're Dems, but they're really good for their community. This should not have happened to them. And if you know him, you know that that is high praise. And so, but that helped it pass unanimously. And again, this was a no-cost thing. It was a time thing. And I'm so grateful for these changes. And I don't know where Senator Frederick went, but thank you very much. So this is an incredible honor. Today, I tried to make, you guys didn't make it easy on me. I tried to make my time a little bit, I actually want to say a little bit sterile until towards the end, because it is really hard for me to be up here without Steve at that table, because he was my backbone. He was the one who was always there for me. He was always there for the kids. You know, the kids knew him. It was a big deal. So now I'm gonna, sorry, Candy, I'm over time. Now I'm gonna start. Thank you everyone for this incredible honor. While I accept this award, I want to be clear, an award for rural organizing goes out to every single one of you who lift up a rural community, who fights for our democracy and for our people. Life in rural communities is life in a red state, and we need every single one of our blue friends, especially our supermajority and all of our state leaders fighting to keep the tyrants out of the state. My beginning activism started with the No on 9 campaign in 1992. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what it is because most of you aren't old enough. This was an initiative concerning LGBTQI rights and would have declared homosexuality perverse. That was actually one of the nicest words. They didn't even have a word for people like me back then, non-binary. This was the first time that I realized maybe, just maybe, the people important didn't get how things were back home, as we can't always run the same campaigns and be successful in rural communities. I changed how we approached this issue, and while it still passed in my county, it passed by a substantially less margin than was expected. I think it actually was similar to Deschutes County, which, if you know I'm from Jefferson County, that's a big deal. It continues to be vital that rural Dems speak up for their communities, how they communicate while working with ballot initiatives and candidates. By doing this, we can get our initiatives passed and we can get our candidates elected. I went abroad. I returned to Oregon then and got my master's degree, and as Anderson Clayton said last night, I then swallowed my pride and returned home. Because in rural, you are indeed successful only if you leave. And just as Anderson welcomed our blue state to the fold of the South, if you will, with the evilness and despair of this administration, I remember turning to Steve and saying, when Trump got elected, and saying how it's actually easier for rural to have an election not go their way, because elections rarely go our way. 20 plus years later, I re-engaged in politics. I became part of a team serving as campaign managers for Jim Crary for his 2018 run for CD2, and I learned. Then Jefferson County Chair, CD2 Vice Chair, and then Chair of CD2. Thank you, Nathan, for all of your mentoring. I always tell people about mentoring, it's not about age, it's about experience, and everyone has something to teach somebody else. The reason why I still have joy in what I do is sitting right there, you know, so yeah. I still serve as chair of the Rural Caucus, vice chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon, and DNC Rural Council Western Regional Representative. I finally learned that one of the most important parts of these positions is to support others in having their voice heard. Sometimes this means listening and brainstorming ideas and helping them move forward, and other times it's having their back as they step forward. I've tried many things. Sorry, I was pretty emotional last night thinking about today and being up here without Steve. I've tried many things, and some of them have worked, some have not. I'm proud of my work to get non-affiliated voters educated about elections by identifying which issues are important to them, the largest voting bloc in rural communities, and then tying the issues to our Dem leaders who are striving to make these things happen for all of Oregonians, and often our country and our world. I am also very proud of all the young Democrats that I believe will save our country and our world. On a personal note, this weekend has grown harder by the hour, knowing I'm getting an award that would have Steve here beside me grinning. Even more proud than usual, telling everyone it was all me, when in fact we were a team. Steve was my behind-the-scenes guy, my listening board and my back, both physically and figuratively. He was the one who helped me stay sane and not do some of the crazy things that pop into the heads when injustice is being served to those around us. He fed people food, I feed their spirits. And together we showed those around us, for me the younger generation, and Steve inmates, as he provided eye care and an interest in them as a person, that someone believed in them and would stand for them. I know all of you stand for us rural Dems and our communities. I especially want to thank Governor Kotek for protecting rural health care and hospitals. It's a biggie. Our entire congressional delegation, sans one, is fighting for the interests and needs of rural Oregonians, while Cliff Bentz hides from his constituents and takes a long vacation with his Republican friends. Yeah. Senator Frederick already spoke about coming to Madras. I think he spoke lightly of the impact that he made on our students. He was going to give us maybe an hour. I think you were there maybe 2 or 3 hours with the kids. It was fantastic. You changed lives that day. I want to thank Senator Merkley. He's fought to pass the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act in the Senate. He's defending the Affordable Care Act, which is huge, of course, in rural, especially CD2. And he has also secured federal grants to expand broadband access. We are grateful for his leadership and ready to do everything we can to re-elect Senator Merkley next year. In fact, rural Dems work hard to elect every Democrat we can, because we need each and every one of you. We will be there for you, fighting to get you elected. And remember, rural communities And remember the rural communities of your counties, your neighbors in the upcoming elections. A small donation to a local county party or a local candidate can change the course of an election. So anyway, thank you. And thank you for recognizing Steve. And thanks for, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, request for a shorter podium next time. Just saying. So for everyone nursing a hangover this morning, I'm going to wish you a good morning. For everyone else, good morning. My name is Steph Newton, and when I'm not serving the people of Albany as their council president, I have the utmost pleasure to serve this awesome party as one of your Democratic National Committee members. It is such a pleasure to introduce someone who leads with both courage and heart. Someone who reminds us that politics, like not those nasty national politics, but politics really here, at its best, is an act of faith in one another. Speaker Julie Fahey has guided the Oregon House through some of our most challenging years in our state's history. She's been always grounded in integrity, compassion, and a belief that Oregon's best days are still ahead. Speaker Fahey knows that hope is not naive. It's the engine that drives progress. Hope is what gets us to reach across the aisle and have tough conversations, even those really super wonky ones that we all know she has. Hope is what gets us to knock one more door, sign up for one more extra phone banking shift, and most importantly, hope is what gets each and every one of us to show up, even when the coffee hasn't kicked in and we were maybe all out till 2 in the morning. So Democrats, please join me this beautiful Sun River morning in welcoming Oregon's Speaker of the House, Julie Fahey, to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It has been so great to be here in Sun River with all of my fellow Democrats from all across the state. But I do have to admit it's slightly less great to be here at 9 in the morning giving a speech in front of all of you. I am famously not a morning person, so I had a little bit extra coffee this morning. It has kicked in. I was not out till 2 in the morning, in bed by 11, responsibly. But when you're Speaker of the House, you have to go to bed at 11. Apparently, that's the rule. So that said, I will say that being around other Democrats, even at 9 in the morning, this year feels more important than ever because we are living through such heavy and difficult times. We are seeing challenges to our democracy and to the basic functioning of our government that would have been unimaginable a year ago today. Blatant abuses of the Constitution and the rule of law, illegal orders to deploy the military to American streets, including in Portland. The big ugly bill, which is going to cut $15 billion in federal funding from Oregon over the next 6 years. That means many thousands of people are going to lose access to health care and to the ability to put food on their table for their families. Attacks on democratic institutions, ongoing layoffs, funding cuts that will decimate, the basic infrastructure of government, public health, education, science, and research. Immigrants being ripped away from their families by ICE. Fear in our immigrant communities and fear in our BIPOC communities writ large. In the last week, we have seen increasing ICE activity in Oregon, but I worry that it could get much worse. Last week, I was in Chicago for a conference with other Democratic legislative leaders. And as awful as it is on the ground here, it is just, the situation in Chicago with ICE is just on a different level right now. Brutal tactics being used, ordinary people, including children, met with extraordinary cruelty. ICE raids in the neighborhood where my friends and family live and work. One of my closest friends told his teenagers, kids that I have known since they were born, to carry their US passports with them at all times. I had the chance to visit the ICE Broadview Detention Center when I was there. And it was the first time that I have seen in person masked ICE agents driving vans of people into a detention center. I've seen it on video, but in person, it was just so disturbing. And that is just the first 9 months of this administration. It is a really hard time to be in public service right now. It's a hard time to be a Democrat. And it's a hard time to be a person with basic empathy looking at what is going on around our country. But when I was at that conference in Chicago, one of the other legislative leaders, we were talking about everything that's going on right now, and she said, well, given all of that, what gives you hope? And I gotta be honest, I had to think about it for a minute. But where I landed is that what gives me hope is that we in Oregon are fighting back. We're fighting back with grassroots organizing and with peaceful protests in Portland and all around the state yesterday with the No Kings protests. Our governor is fighting back, standing up to Trump and working with governors in other states to protect public health and, fight against military deployments. Our attorney general is fighting back, making sure that not a single step of the Trump administration's march towards authoritarianism goes unchallenged in court. And in the Oregon legislature, we're fighting back too. When Trump was first elected in 2016, that was the year that I was first elected to the legislature. So welcome to public service. Democrats in the legislature understood the threat that we were facing, and we have worked so hard over those last 8 years to pass policies that will protect our communities. We immediately acted in 2017 to safeguard our right to an abortion here in Oregon. And in the years following, we protected our environment against rollbacks of federal clean air and water protections. We strengthened our sanctuary state law. We've stood with our union siblings and protected their right to organize in this state. All of that work over the last 8 years meant that heading into Trump's second term, we were better positioned than most other states, even most Democratic states, in terms of the work we'd done to be ready for this moment. But of course, there is still so much more to do. Senator Jama talked about many of the things that we accomplished this legislative session. We made the largest investment in education in our state's history. And we did it while emphasizing programs like early literacy and summer learning that will put our youngest learners on the path to success. We passed major legislation to make housing more plentiful and more affordable, helping families live in the communities where they work. We helped level the playing field for workers, guaranteeing safer workplaces and access to a lifeline for workers who are on strike. We took on major challenges in our state's behavioral health and civil commitment systems so that people who are in crisis can get the help that they need when, where, and how they need it. And importantly, and somewhat under the radar, we passed a bill that protects our personal geolocation data. So in Oregon, you no longer have to worry about corporations or military contractors buying data that tracks exactly where you have been, whether that's your volunteer activity, a health clinic, or a peaceful protest. As we in the legislature get ready for the 2026 session, the next chapter of our work will be about standing up to federal overreach. We will have a standing up to federal overreach agenda next spring, and about protecting our people, especially the most vulnerable, from the devastation heading our way from the big ugly bill. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm grateful every day to be doing this work with the Oregon House Democrats. So if you're an Oregon House Democrat, I want to stand up so I can recognize you. We've got, over in the corner, we've got Representative Daniel Wynn from Lake Oswego. We've got Nathan Sosa from Washington County. Representative Hudson from East Multnomah County. Representative Sanchez, co-chair of our Ways and Means Committee from Portland. We've got Representative Valderrama, also from East County. Did I miss anyone? except for Rep March, who I'll get to later. Okay, well, I do also want to acknowledge someone who we just lost 10 days ago, Representative Hua Win, whose light and positivity and dedication to young people all around this state were an inspiration for us all. I could not be prouder to be in this fight with the Oregon House Democrats and with all of you in this room. They give me hope every day. And I also feel hope when I look at every one of you at 9 in the morning, you know, bright-eyed and a little bushy-tailed. This room filled with grassroots organizers and local electeds and dedicated staff. And I feel hope when I think about all of the collaboration that is happening across state lines, governors and attorney generals and legislative leaders from both blue states and red states. I'm talking to my blue state colleagues about what policies we should pass next year. And I know Representative Wu from Texas is talking to legislative leaders in red states about how to fight back against redistricting efforts. Since our legislative session adjourned in June, I've spent so much time with leaders in other states sharing strategies and trading lessons learned. And in this moment, when Washington, D.C. is failing, it is states like ours that will hold our country together. I feel hope when I reflect on yesterday's No Kings protests. Every corner of our nation, including in the small town where my in-laws live, stood peacefully, united against authoritarianism. I don't know about all of you, but I was getting photos from friends and family all around the country yesterday of like the best signs and the best inflatable costumes, and it just brought me so much light and hope yesterday. And I feel hope specifically when I see the peaceful protests in Portland. People from every walk of life meeting the moment with whimsy and joy. And naked bike rides. Emergency naked bike rides. Emergency naked bike rides. And let me tell you, people all around the country are watching us here in Oregon. And in our defiant joy, we are bringing them hope too. So I want to leave you with one final thought. A visual reminder of hope and the work ahead. Some of you may know my dear friend Pam Marsh, who got the Roosevelt Award last night. Every parade she is in Ashland, she dresses up as Lady Liberty. And occasionally in the final days of the legislative session, too. This is the torch from that costume. Famously a symbol of liberty and democracy and freedom. There's something that I want you all to notice about this torch. The base of the torch is pointed. So does anyone know what that means? You can't put it down. The torch of liberty must be carried. It must be carried. And all of us in this room, we are the ones who must carry the torch. And there is no one that I would rather have by my side doing this fight, in this fight, than Oregon Democrats. So I am so proud to do the work of carrying this torch together. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us this weekend at the Oregon Summit. We still have a few more things happening today, but today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something a little personal. So bear with me. My husband and I have been together for 15 years, and like so many couples, we have dreamed of starting a family. After our wedding in 2016, we began trying, and like 1 in 8 couples, we discovered the heartbreak of infertility. On the darkest days of 2020, we were stunned and overjoyed to discover that I was pregnant. On January 20th, 2021, I took my only bump photo. It was the day that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in, and I was so full of hope for our country. I grew up Catholic, and while I've always supported abortion rights, I never thought that abortion was a choice that I would make for myself. I never thought I would need one, but during a routine ultrasound, we discovered that my pregnancy was not compatible with life and that trying to carry it to term could kill me. We made the difficult choice that a lot of families do to end my pregnancy. So on February 4th, 2021, I had an abortion. It was one of the hardest days of my life, and yet I know that I was fortunate because I live in Oregon, where Democrats have affirmed and again and again and again that all people, for whatever reason they choose to have an abortion, deserve access to abortion care. I was able to have my abortion with my trusted doctor at my regular hospital in Portland. It was covered by my insurance because Democrats in Oregon passed the Reproductive Health Equity Act. And that law meant that I could grieve my loss without having to worry about my financial future. I could just make the healthcare decision I needed to make. This is not the reality for millions of people across this country. Since Roe fell, we have seen the devastating consequences of abortion bans play out again and again. 28-year-old Gisele Barnica was in the middle of a wanted pregnancy when her water broke too early. Because doctors feared breaking the state's abortion law, they delayed care for nearly 2 days, and she died from an infection that could have been prevented. Nevaeh Crane was just 18 years old, and she went to 3 hospitals over the course of a single day in agony from her pregnancy complication. Each time she was turned away or sent home. By the time doctors finally treated her, it was too late. Candy Miller feared being prosecuted under her state's abortion ban and tried to manage a medical emergency on her own. She died at home alone. Amber Thurman went to the hospital after taking abortion medication, and instead of receiving swift care, she was forced to wait nearly a full day while her doctors hesitated to act. She developed sepsis and died. These women should be alive today. Their deaths were not inevitable. They were the direct result of politicians making doctors too afraid to provide care. And now, Trump and his allies are promising to go even further. They talk about protecting families while making pregnancy more dangerous. They claim to support women's health care out of one side of their mouth while defunding Planned Parenthood out of the other. This is not about protecting life. This is about controlling it. It is about power. They want to erase our laws, override the will of our voters, and take away the rights we fought for again and again. Every day of my life, for at least a moment, I think about how different my story would be if it happened in 2022 in Texas instead of in 2021 in Oregon. Instead of standing here, I could have been another name on that list. This work we are doing together is not theoretical. This is happening now, and it will only get worse if they succeed. So here is my message. Abortion is healthcare. Abortion saves lives, and abortion saved mine. While we resist this federal government's dangerous overreach, we are so fortunate in Oregon. We have Democratic leaders who fight for us. Leaders like Speaker Julie Fahey, who may not remember this, but she helped me navigate my insurance after my abortion. Congresswoman Bonamici, who was the first person to call me when I shared my abortion story after Roe fell. These are the people who show up when it matters most. That is why it is not enough to feel outraged. We have to act. We must re-elect our Democrats. We must re-elect Governor Kotek and Senator Merkley. We must re-elect our entire congressional delegation. We have to maintain our majorities. And, let's take a bite out of CD2 while we're at it. I know that our Democratic leaders will continue to stand side by side with people seeking abortion care because they understand what is at stake. Our democracy, our dignity, and our lives depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candy. Thank you so much, Candy, for sharing your story, and thank you so much for all of our speakers for joining us today. Quickly, before some notes before we let you go to your panels, I do want to share a little bit of sad news. A dear friend of the party, and to many of us in the room, Bill Dickey, has been placed on hospice care. Living wake for Bill is being held on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. at Mother's Bistro in Portland. And friends and family would love to invite you. Everybody is welcome there. So if you're available, please do attend. That's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday at Mother's Bistro in Portland. So just, again, a couple notes before we move on. We do have some panels coming up, and then we're going to have our big plenary session right back here with secretaries of state to talk about protecting democracy in Oregon and across this country. That's going to be led by Tobias Reed and a couple of his colleagues coming in from around the country. So I do hope you'll join us for that. So in just about 15 minutes, the final workshop panels are going to start at 9:45. Those are here in the Great Hall Center and then over in the Homestead Room as well. I hope that you'll attend those with your lanyards. You please wear them still, but before you leave the summit, please return them to a staff or volunteer member so we can reuse them. So you have just a few minutes to chat and catch up before the panels begin, and then we'll see you back here at 11:15 a.m. for a special plenary session. Thank you, everybody.